All right, here we go. In three, in three, two, one. Fam. What's going on? This Fam Matters with Emmett and Jess here. I'm, of course, broadcasting from the Milb, my mother-in-law's basement. Where are you at, Dr. Brown?
I am in Indianapolis, Indiana right now, doing big things out here in these
Ooh,
streets.
ooh, you are
I
you are
got
so
flued out
famous.
for a conference.
You're
Listen,
famous.
let me tell
You're
you
amazing to me. You're famous. You're so
my
famous.
standard is about to change because when
Oh,
I got to the baggage claim area, there was a man holding a sign with my name on it, ready to transport me to the hotel.
you should have told me
When
that.
I walked into my hotel room, the joint had a bedroom area and a
Ooh,
living room
you
area.
should not have told me that. You
And
shouldn't have
so
told me that.
now this becomes my standard.
You shouldn't have told me that. Like you really should not have told me that. I am so going to clown you for you
Clown
for
me
that.
for being Big Time. I don't know what to
Oh,
tell you.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
I
you
mean, that's
snob.
fine. They talked
Yeah,
about Jesus too.
you rich snob. Oh
Rich
y'all, just
snob, this ain't
so
my money.
real quick, we just get into it because you are participants in a conversation that this brother and sister just have, and you're just looking at it
Yeah.
or listening to it. So this is Fam
Why? We still
Matters.
don't know, but here we all are. So
This is
enjoy.
Fam Matters, Faith and Mess, because we talk about both. Sometimes we talk about both on the podcast. Sometimes we just talk about one. Sometimes we talk about the other. Sometimes we don't talk about anything because we are qualified. We have degrees, but our opinions are not qualified whatsoever. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel. Jess, what's the YouTube channel again? Hit them up with it.
Fan Matters Pod at, I don't know, YouTube? I don't know.
No,
Just
it's
search
not.
Fan
Don't say
Matters
that. Oh
Podcast.
my, and you talk about me being old. Huh. Fan Matters. Fan Matters
Fan
Pod
Matters
on YouTube.
Podcast.
All right. I'm sorry, Fan Matters Podcast on
Yeah,
YouTube.
on YouTube.
And of course
I
on
just got an
Spotify.
email today that
You
YouTube
just
is
inter-
going to roll out
you just
better
interrupted me.
handles.
I'm trying to give the stuff so people can holler at us. Yeah. It-
It was something related to YouTube. So who cut who off?
mm,
Because I was
you cut
talking
me
and
off.
then you started
But but
talking.
but so I
So
had
it
to
seemed
give
like maybe you cut me off.
no. I had to give the rest of the places where people can catch us. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podvine, you know, hit us up on Facebook, Buzzsprout, all these places is where you can get the pod. Thank you for all the love, for all those who are a part of the faithful fam. We appreciate that because, like I said before, you're just listening, watching us. We're going to be doing this regardless, so we just figured why not film it, why not record it. So
Correct.
that's
Can I be petty for a minute?
yeah, go.
So, as you all know, Emma has another podcast with his lovely wife. And if you're connected with him on social media, you'll see the difference in the way he advertises that podcast and the way he advertises this one. So I just wanted to state for public record that, I mean, yeah, you should prioritize your wife, yada, yada, yada. But I feel like this podcast is perhaps the nappy headed stepchild of the Hey Young World podcast family.
And yet we have more views. Because we are foolish. My wife and I, we talk about,
Totally
talk
ignorant. You
about
guys talk about
serious
like
stuff.
serious,
Serious
whoa,
about
like
serious stuff.
way to
Yeah, we
have a
don't talk about
healthy,
anything.
loving marriage. Whoa.
So first of all, that is petty. You're absolutely right. That was petty. Secondly,
Is
which
it
is it's in your
incorrect
nature.
though?
It's in your nature. This is just like I'm a jerk. I know you're petty. It's that's how we roll. That's just what it is.
Correct.
Secondly, she does that. I don't do that.
That explains it.
So yeah,
Okay.
she does that. If it were
His
left
wife,
up to
by the
me,
way, is amazing. She's actually one of my favorite parts of being his sister. She's much better than him.
you would
Love you,
she is.
Kylie.
Anybody who's watched the podcast, Hey Young World, yeah, you know that she's better than me. So yeah,
Definitely.
that's it.
She's
And in these podcasts, and both of them, I just told you, Jess, you all are the brains. I'm the pizzazz. I'm the jaja. You guys are the thinkers. I don't. I had to come never prepared. I don't have anything written down. It's just
never. Y'all, we logged on to this today and I was like, what are we talking about? And he was like,
don't know.
And guess
You're the
what? We still
brains.
don't know. So we'll
We
see how
still,
this goes.
we're seeing how it goes. So I was telling you,
Mhm.
I'm a kept man now. And I love being a kept man. So
Tell the saints what a kept man is.
my wife makes more money than I do. So um before, and this is true, this is like full disclosure, right? I'll never forget when we first got married eons ago. I know it wasn't that long ago, but we've been married for
Y'all got married in
uh
2007. It wasn't
I know
eons
it's
ago.
15 years, we're in our 16th year. So when we first got married, I worked a job. I worked at a church, and she worked at I can't talk, a construction company, and she made, like, at that point, I think she made probably like $5,000 more than me, maybe like $2,000 to $5,000. And y'all, Jess, I was in my feelings. I couldn't. I was like, I don't really like that, right? I don't, I don't like this idea. I'm supposed to be the breadwinner. I'm supposed to be bringing home the bacon. I don't like that. Now, I never tripped out about it like at home, but it was just internal in my mind. So I went ahead and got a part time job. But it was
Just
so
for the sake of making more money than her?
it wasn't just for the sake of making more money than her. I got the part time job because I felt like we needed it. So that was
Fair.
real. But it did make me feel better. It made me feel a
Mm.
lot better. I was like, yes, okay, whew, okay, I am the breadwinner again. And for me though, it wasn't like oh my gosh, for me it was, am I less of a man because I don't provide? But it was never like I was threatened, at least I don't think so. I was threatened by her and everything that she had. I was certainly, obviously, not obviously, but I was happy that she, was able to make the money that she made and all that kind of stuff. But I felt like, in the way I was trained, that man had to make more money. All right, so fast forward fast forward years later, right? 15 years later, she makes more money than me, and I'm like, bring it on. I need my nails done. I might go get I might go get my feet done. But I was telling you this because, it's still a thing, right? Where she makes more money. So when I get home, I'm like, I need to clean the house. Like I gotta be doing something around the house. It's I gotta be more domestic. It's a very weird kind of dynamic that I think we, especially as men, if we've seen
Mhm.
other men, if just I think we pick it up sometimes by just watching others or knowing about others, and then sometimes we pick it up because that's what we're told. That we're supposed to be making more money and doing this and that, and if you're not, then you have to be domestic, that kind of thing. Where really, I'm cleaning because we had a deal. I don't cook. So we were like, okay, if you cook, she cooks, then I clean. Now, I wasn't holding up my end of the bargain for 7 years while we were in Danville. And one of the reasons why is because we never really talked about it like at the outset, but I was working 3 jobs. And so she just picked everything up. You know what I mean? But now, okay, here we are. We're back in the, in DMV area. I hate saying that, number one. We're back in the DMV area. And even though we both have only one job, she makes more money than me. But it's like, okay, well, you know what? I need to, make good on what the deal was, so we gotta,
So let me ask
she
you this.
cooks,
Is
I
that
clean.
like a conversation that you had with her, or that's just something you sort of got it on your own?
What, the
That
the
now that
cleaning?
she makes more money, you're gonna hold up this other end of like the original bargain that you
No,
had.
no, right? Y'all. That's the crazy part, fam. It was in me to just be
Mm,
like, you know what? I need to do this. And I think just it was when as she began, like getting deeper into the job, learning more about it, and then really doing more. And she actually, is able to kind of go, up quickly. So I was like, man, this is like, it's different because I was used to the 7 years of coming home and she's there and
yeah.
she's cooking and the clothes are clean. She's vacuum. She's not a good vacuumer now. I'm just putting it out there. She knows this,
For
but
context, she was a stay-at-home mom during this time, right?
right,
So
she was
you were
right.
the
She was
only one working.
right,
Right.
right. She was a stay at home mom, and we had conversations about that, right? Because of all the, what is that word? I told you, you're the brains, the stigma that
Yeah.
people put on stay-at-home moms. And like she found a Facebook group or something like that. And then one of our another couple that we know, the wife was a stay-at-home mom too. And so there was a whole thing around that, and she would feel almost bad sometimes because I was working these jobs and she didn't work. But I was like, hey, I'm cool. I'm good because like if you didn't do this, then I wouldn't be able to do X,
Right.
Y, and Z. So I'm cool. But in saying that, um I think we have to be able to, especially as men, and this is not on some like toxic masculinity, hyper masculinity, anything like that, or the charge of trying to break down black men and make them more feminine, or all that kind of stuff. It's the idea though that number one, have the conversation. That's number one. Don't assume, have the
Mhm.
conversation. And number two, if you say you're in this relationship with somebody, this is your partner, this is somebody that you're lifing with, all right, life with them, be with them, do what's necessary to step up to the plate. And what I realized just was I hadn't been stepping up to the plate because she's doing this and the other stuff, and it's like, nah, like in my mind I couldn't fathom. Now she's working, and but the clothes need to be clean, and she's also doing, why can't I do that? I get home early enough to do these things, you know what I mean? So it's like, man, you got to hold up your end of the bargain. So yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of men, to your earlier point, are so, and I think this happens to women too. Like a lot of men are trained to expect, okay, I'm going to be the one bringing home the money. I'm the head of the house.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of those like managing the home tasks, one, are seen as menial tasks, and two,
Mm.
sort of automatically get assigned to women.
Right.
I think the other
Right.
thing too, which I don't think this is the case for you, but a lot of men are I shouldn't say that. Some men
Say it.
are threatened by a woman making more money than them
Yeah.
because we attach leadership to money.
Hmm.
And I mean, I remember we talked about last time, I'm divorced, but I remember in our marriage counseling, one of the questions I had was like, I'm not sure about the submission thing because what does that mean? And it didn't have, I asked that, and I did in our marriage counseling. And it didn't have anything to do with the man I was marrying, but for me, it was about like, am I giving something up
Mm. Hmm.
if I submit?
Yes, that's the point.
Um,
That's the point. You
yeah, but
have to.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you, but I think like I don't think we talk enough about like what that looks like in real life. Like we talk about the
Right.
words,
Hmm.
but in churches in
Hmm.
particular, especially put the burden on single women to like be the kind of woman that a man will marry,
Right. Right.
right? But I don't think we talk enough about what does it mean to actually negotiate in a relationship the way you all do.
Bro, I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, and whatever, but in Starbucks for Ministers, it's this little black book, that's a
Mhm.
really great aid to because it takes you through, like, especially as a young preacher, marriages, funerals, benedictions, all that kind of stuff. But it's just really good. I still use it every now and then, especially when I'm doing marriage vows. Sometimes I write them out, whatever. But so I got to a point just where this is what I'm going to get in trouble for. In the book, right in the book, it talks to the husband. When making your vows, it says you're going to honor your wife, and
Yep.
for the wife, it
It
says
says
cherish
obey.
and obey.
Yep.
And I took obey out. I took
Mhm.
I literally took obey out. I'll never forget. I remember saying it, like during the marriage ceremony, during the marriage service, and it was nothing. Nothing happened. The skies didn't open up. There was no other women in the audience that, oh, but I remember hearing myself say it, and I was just like, why am I telling this woman to obey him, but the same doesn't go for him, for her? So the
Mhm.
idea of submission, I'll never forget this definition. I learned this at a conference a while ago, but as you said, it's mostly applied to the woman. Her
Yeah.
and I, this is just us. This is us. You got to figure out how you do your own thing. But her and I, submission is, oh man, it is giving up, giving up. Uh, Of course, I would forget it now when we're sitting here recording on this. But the idea is, kind of like giving up, yourself or giving up part of yourself for the benefit of the relationship as a whole. It was something like that. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I said that right. But if she does it, then that means I have to do it. So the submission thing is not just on her, but it's on me too. So you say, okay, well, if you submit, who's going to lead? That's the thing. You know, it's not the idea of anything with two heads is a monster. That for marriage, I think is different. That you have somebody who has the agency, the intelligence, the wisdom, and all these things, and you're just going to not listen to that person and making decisions with that person. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry, it just
But you're
doesn't
not
make
a caveman. I
every
mean,
now and then I am.
seriously.
Me need
I mean,
sex.
we
Oh.
joke a lot, right? But
I mean,
you're not a caveman. Like, I think I will say this: dating after divorcing has shown me just how many cavemen there are in the world.
I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that.
I'm just saying, like, and I think
It's a lot of
it's a
cavemen.
lot of, it's a lot of cavemen.
Really?
Yes. Um, and I think it's a lot of people who don't have realistic expectations.
Hmm.
And the church does not help with that.
No, it doesn't. At all, at all, at all. Um, I will say, mm, some do, right? When you have people, I'll never forget. And whether people like him or not, R.A. Vernon, his name R.A. Vernon.
Mhm.
He had a series that I thought was really, really good. And of course, they had this, large stage. I don't know if you ever saw this one. They have a large stage set up, because you got a lot of people go to the church, and they had put a bed on there,
A
like
bed. I remember that sermon
you remember,
series.
remember that, right? And
Yep,
so
I do.
I thought it was dope, right? Because you sitting there talking about marriage and talking about what happens in the bedroom and all these things, and you don't hear that. You
Yeah,
even
you
if you
don't.
hear it in a Bible study, which you don't really hear it that much in, or a specialized study, you don't hear about that kind of stuff from the pulpit in that
Mhm.
particular way. It makes me think about. Excuse me, when we talk about honk for Jesus, and and that scene where he's where he's
The
talking
bedroom
about,
scene. Yeah.
he's railing against homosexuality, and knowing what he has going on, but all you get from the pulpit are these little sound bites or snapshots of sometimes false theology, but never
Mhm.
digging into the meat of where people are and where people live, because we say preaching is supposed to reach, teaching keeps, but sometimes that's the only time you're gonna have somebody and get somebody in. So that's why I really appreciated him doing that. He and his wife, they talked through that thing, and I thought that was really dope.
Yeah, and I think just like I know for me, when I got married, I did not have realistic expectations about what marriage would look like. And
Mm,
my parents were married for a long time, but
mm,
I'm
mm.
still not sure about this. I think maybe they like didn't, there were certain things that I just didn't have access to as their child, which I think that was
Absolutely,
appropriate. But
absolutely.
I think I really had like fairy tale expectations about marriage. And then when I got married, I was like, oh, this ain't
So you never
like,
talked to
this is
him.
different.
So I mean, obviously, pops, rolled out early. But you never really talked to. I mean, you never had the opportunity to talk to them about any of that. But once again, like I said, so he was gone and you were young,
Yeah, I
youngish.
was
You know
like
what I mean?
20 or 21 when he died,
Right.
so I
Like,
wasn't considering
right.
marriage. I mean, I've
Right.
had conversations with my mom since then, but even still, I don't, I like some of the struggles that I'm sure they had. I don't know. And I think it's weird because as a parent, I really understand wanting to shield your child
Mm,
from
mm,
some of what you experience.
mm,
And as an adult, I see like the challenges with that strategy.
mm,
So it's
mm.
something I think about a
Yeah.
lot,
Wow.
like as a mother and as a woman in particular, like having a daughter really shifted a lot of things for me because I felt this responsibility about like how do I tell her about how to be a woman? I don't know. It was something about having a same gender child that like really shifted a lot of things for me. And I think sometimes our inclination is to like tell the beautiful stories,
Mm.
and we should, but it's a lot of mess that comes along with just like living life. And I think people need spaces to talk about that, because if if you don't know that that's actually a part of the process, then you end up thinking that something is wrong with you when you struggle with that thing, when in actuality it might be like, this is, chalk it up to the game, like this is a part of what it means to go through whatever this process is. I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling.
Not rambling. That's what the people are here for. So if you're here, thanks for listening. Fanmatterspod@gmail.com. Once again, fanmatterspod@gmail.com. Holla at us. Please show comments, all that on YouTube. We are Fan Matters Pod. So hit us up, check out the channel, subscribe to the channel, like this video. Don't forget to smash that like button, please. And
Why
we
do you say
sincerely,
smash instead of click or press?
because that's what it said these days. You smash the like button, smash it,
Said by
like it,
whom?
like it, like it. Huh?
Said by
What?
whom? Said by
Said
whom?
what? People that are, you know, in the milieu, in
Oh,
the
okay, in the
zeitgeist,
milieu.
in
In
the
the milieu.
zeitgeist, like
Aren't you fancy?
the fancy. I don't want to be fancy like you. Going on conferences and saying
In the
zeitgeist
milieu.
and milieu with my finger. Pass the Grey Poupon, please. I
Have you
think
ever heard of Candace Bimbo?
yeah, I feel like I have. Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure you
yeah.
have.
Lipstick theology, right?
Yeah, red lip
Yeah,
theology.
yeah.
Yeah, so she's a public theologian, and she's talked a lot about how like so much of the like industry of church has preyed upon single women who are looking for a partner. Like, I shouldn't say peddling, but that's how I feel. Peddling these like books and resources about like, you pray for your future husband, and here's what you do to prepare you. It's like, I
Steve
think the
Harvey does
other
it too.
thing,
Steve Harvey
huh?
does it too. I mean, Steve Harvey does it too.
Oh
Everybody does
yeah,
it.
Steve
You
Harvey
know,
does it too.
so
And
Tyler Perry,
how many?
everybody does
Yeah,
it.
but I also think like the other piece of this is like viewing marriage as like the answer to happiness. Like if you're single,
Mm,
there's something
yeah,
wrong with you, and you'll really be in line with God's will for your life once you find a husband that will cherish you
bro.
after not having sex for all the years while you were single.
Right? Because you can't
It's
have
like
sex.
you can't have sex because
You
that's
cannot
definitely
have
gonna
sex.
ruin it.
You cannot have premarital sex. You can forget. Do not fornicate. Yeah, we are literally indoctrinated with that in Sunday school. So when you start talking about the Bible, and if
Hmm.
you let's just say you're going chronologically, right, from the book,
Yep,
you're talking about marriage from the beginning,
the
Adam and
creation
Eve,
story, right?
creation story, Adam and Eve. So it's like boom, you're getting that. But our kids are funny. When you talk about our kids are funny, because for us, I remember our oldest Emmett was like really just laser focused on our marriage when he was like 3, 4 years old. And he would
Hmm.
love to hear us tell the story of how we got together and all that stuff. Um, as he's gotten older, right, we see him watching us. And what you were saying before is we try to make sure that we don't just give the good side. But I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, we don't want, we don't really fight, nothing like that. But when we have conversations,
yeah. Conflict is
um,
just a part of being in a relationship.
it's part of being in a relationship. But
Hmm.
but but we don't want to, it's not a fairy tale. And if you're here, you seeing it. Our hope is that we're living it so that you don't see a fairy tale. But we also want to put out there that it is very possible for two people to live together, to love together, and to raise a family together. We're not the Huxtables, but are there really any Huxtables? That was TV. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
not. It's real life hurts. Real life happens. You go through mess. I said this when we were talking about mm, on on our podcast, not ours, but Carletta's and I, that I can't remember who told me this, but I learned it young, and they were like, you want somebody who you can, I'm sorry, you want somebody to stand by your side when you bury your parents. If your parents are, you're obviously going to,
Yeah.
live long and you're going to bury them, that you want that person there, somebody who's going to be there, somebody that that you trust, that knows you, that you can be vulnerable with all of these things, right? And that's what you want. But back to your comment of what you just said, that is hard to get when we as the church do tell fairy tale stories about
Right.
marriage from the beginning, and we don't deal with we don't deal with David for real, right? We don't deal with David's family. We don't deal with sexual abuse in family,
Right.
rape. We don't deal with those things, the violence and murder. We don't deal with those things because that's the ugly side. We only want to give the good side. But here's the question for you. Here's the question, because you're the brains. All right. How do we do that? How do we give a more full picture when in still a lot of churches the primary instruction time is Sunday school? How do we
I mean,
do that?
I just one, I think it's about people being honest about their own stories, right? Like one of the things I talk to people a lot about is like everything is not all fairy tales and sunshine, but you're afraid to say that because of how you'll be perceived or whatever, like so for one, I think a part of what we need to invite people to do is think about what it means to be healthy and whole outside of the context of a marriage or relationship. Because the story we sell is you will find like wholeness and closeness to God in the context of a marriage. But that's only true when you have two healthy people who are married. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
think we don't do a lot of the preliminary work.
But
And
related,
the,
but related, right? Related to, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Related though to some kid who is in Sunday school or who is on the Sunday school Zoom or whatever, but that's not what they see at home, right? So they
what do you
they
mean?
they get the other side. They're getting that they only get one side of it, right? They're only seeing the one side. So if you're telling me that marriage is XYZ, but I'm only getting the DEF, how do you make that, how do you tie that together for someone
Because
who
the
only sees
reality
one
is
side?
there are lots of different ways for people to be healthy, right? So, like, yeah, maybe a child is in a home with two parents who are happily married. Maybe they're in a home with two parents who are unhappily married. Maybe they're in two homes with two single parents. Maybe they're in a home with a grandmother or a grandparent. Like, I think a part of it is opening up our capacity to see all of the ways that people can live healthy lives. Because if we paint that there's this only one picture, then we diminish all the other people who for whom that picture is not their reality. And we
Hmm.
leave them longing for something. And let me be clear, I think it's perfectly fine and appropriate to desire partnership if you're not partnered. But I
Hmm.
think it's dangerous when you do that from a place of lack as opposed to seeing it as an addition. Like I will never forget in my adolescence and young adulthood, my dad used to always say to me, "You are a whole cookie."
Hmm.
He never wanted me to like operate with this idea that I needed somebody else to complete me.
Hmm.
I think the way that we talk about marriage in particular in the church is like this idea that you are incomplete unless you are married. But the reality is some people ain't gonna never get married. Or some people got married once and will never do it again. Right. And so those people are not complete. I just think we can be a little more creative than we are in the church.
And we have to stop also telling people that if you're going to be single, that you got to be like Paul, because
Right.
that's the
Because
only
Paul was a
that's
track. I'll say
the
it.
is a what?
Paul was a
What was
train
it?
wreck. I'll say it.
Right. So, but if you're single, right, it's always this: you either married or you're like Paul, and it's like it's no there's no in between, right?
And let's
So
throw some more salt in it. All
go.
these churches who say they only want a pastor who is married.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So these pastors stand in this raggedy marriages so they can say they're married, and that is somehow helping a single person. Like
Raggedy
y'all don't
marriages.
realize
Those who are those who
cheating
are
on their spouses
homosexual,
left and right.
those who are
I mean,
homosexual
gay people
and
can
just
get
have
married,
beards.
but
No, 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 no. We're talking about. I'm assuming we're talking about considering traditional, churches,
oh
right?
yeah,
Not that's kind of where we were coming from, but because certainly we understand that
people
that
who
exists,
marry a person to
right?
avoid being
Right.
living out. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I mean, and it happens a lot. It happens a lot in the rural context, a lot,
Sure.
a lot. But yeah, you're right. And would you rather have? Would you? So you're telling me that you'd rather have a pastor who is married, who is like you just said, cheating on his wife left and right, possibly even creating children, in other cities and all that kind of stuff. Because let's be very clear about this,
Or with people in the church.
or people in the church. Let's be very clear about this though. The pastor or preacher lives a life almost akin, especially those who are on the circuit, can live a life akin to an NBA player
Yeah,
or
to
or an
celebrity.
MLB player.
Absolutely.
That's
They
just the
have
truth.
groupies. They
They
have
got
people following
groupies,
them
people
around.
follow them
And for
around.
some reason, I think I'm immune to this maybe because I spent so much time in the church as a child. But there are a lot of people for whom it's just so attractive to see
Mhm.
that person in a position of power and
Yeah, it
preaching and
is.
yada, yada, yada. I can't
Mhm.
relate, but I've heard it said. So,
It's very true. That's I can tell you
yeah,
from experience. It's very, very true.
I believe it
And
100%.
so you're meaning to tell
And
me
let's be clear, being married does not protect people from
no,
that kind of pitfall if they
no.
haven't done their own work.
It does not. It does not. And I think we need to. I think it would be helpful, certainly for us in the near future, to even have that kind of other perspective, on the show, so that
Mhm.
people can hear that. Don't just take our words for it because you're talking about two people. I mean, we are two people who have pretty much have a lot of experience, in these, especially in these church
In
realms,
different ways,
that
yeah.
we're
Because
talking
I'm not
about
a
in
preacher,
different
but
ways.
yeah.
But once again, you've been around it. You know it. You know it well.
For sure. Very
Um,
well.
very well. Very well. And I would just be like, if I was and I want to talk about something real quick too when we talk about pastoring. I don't want to forget about it, so I'm gonna jump right into it after I say this. But if I
Okay.
was a uh, parishioner, and I have been obviously, am now, I would rather have a single pastor than to know that my pastor's out there doing their thing, but they married, but they doing their thing on the side. All right. And this is I'm not holier than thou, nothing like that. But if I respect the institution of marriage, and if you say you're going to be married and you've committed your life to this person, but that's what you're doing, then I don't respect you as my shepherd. So let me just put that out there. That's just the truth. Real quick. Nah, I don't want to get into that. Never mind. I don't want to get into that. Never mind. I don't want to get into that.
Come on,
All right.
cliffhanger.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. And no, it was just Carlette and I were talking this morning. We were talking about a variety of things as we were waiting for our food. Shout out to First Watch. I love their waffles. Oh
I
my God.
love First Watch.
Boy.
Woo!
Oh, Jesus.
The
Keep me
million
near the
dollar
cross.
bacon is a
Woo.
blessing. Thank you,
I don't eat
Lord.
pork anymore.
Everybody just touch it, raise
Just,
your
just,
hands up and say,
just.
thank you, Lord, for
mm.
First Watch.
Thank you, Lord, for First Watch. It's watching me first and blessing me over and over and over again. That waffle, the Lord made that batter. So anyway, we were waiting for our food at First Watch, and we were just talking. And so we were talking about there was a Facebook post mm, on that somebody was saying, um, a was it a teacher of 4 or 5 year olds who's a man says, I'm pregnant, and tells the kids men can be pregnant, men can get pregnant, right? And they were like, thoughts, people put a Facebook post out there and stuff like that. So we were talking about that. And also dealing with just the idea of like generational differences, right? That
Mhm.
one generation or the next generation is often more liberal than the generation that comes before them. Um, she saw the other week on Disney Channel. even though it was like Disney XD, the teen one. They had a promo of this cartoon, and two young girls kissed. Like it was really quick. It was like a smooch. And so I think she said she was talking to Emmett about it, and he was like, "So what's the big deal?" Right? He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever." He's like, "Really? Like, why are you making this a big deal?" Like, is that something that they shouldn't be showing? And the thing is, like, oh boy, from one generation to the next, we've been talking about church, and we've been talking about marriage and pastoring, all that kind of stuff. It's been kind of a hodgepodge today.
Mhm.
But in line of the whole pastoring thing, I thought about the generational piece, and even how I grew up not having an issue with women in ministry at all. Right, my mother's a strong mother. My grandmothers were strong. Granny. I mean, I love just And then when I got licensed, there were two women who were licensed right before me. So it was never an issue for me. But even for older cats now, like while they can deal with women in ministry, they're like, I would never, sit under a woman pastor. And their thought is, oh man, like tell me how it's women are in ministry because of the abdication of responsibility of men. So God was like, I'll show you men. I'm going to call women. And boom. How ridiculous is that? But that's what a lot of these older cats believe. They can be cool. They invite women to their churches and all that kind of stuff. They wouldn't be under a woman pastor. And I'm part of I think a very good lot of them believe that this is why women are in ministry.
And these are probably the same ninjas that are expecting their wives to have a plate of hot food on the table for them when they get there, and they don't never clean nothing in their house, and they don't know how to do laundry. Listen,
Mm, mm, mm.
I really struggle with that because as long as the Black church in particular is dependent upon women being subservient to men, we will continue to get nowhere. Who is
Still
the
the
vast
same way.
majority of the people keeping
Women,
Black churches open?
women,
Women. But y'all
women.
hate women so much that you just can't stand the thought of a woman being equal to you.
Mm-mm.
And
God
this
didn't
is
make it
why I
that way.
said earlier,
God didn't make it that way,
there are
Jess.
a lot of cavemen in the world.
Adam came first, and then there was Eve. And if Eve hadn't done what she did,
I was actually listening
just,
to a
just,
clip of
just,
a sermon because I don't listen to a lot of extra sermons. I was listening to a clip of a sermon the other day, and I can't remember who the preacher was. It was a man, but he was talking. I think it was Darius Daniels. So he was talking about the fact that you're making a face. I don't know what to do with that.
no listening.
Oh, okay. He was talking about the fact that Eve was not. I'm gonna mess up what he said. It's something about Eve was not created from Adam's lack. Like Eve wasn't created to like fill this void for Adam, but it was about partnership.
Well, I mean, if you no, yes and no, right? If you read the text, then there was a lack. But I think that it gets to being a partner, right? There was no, the
But
Bible says there was no
the lack
suitable
was for
helpmeet.
partnership.
Right.
The lack was
But
partnership.
it was
It wasn't
partnership.
some like inherent lack in him, is what I'm saying.
Right, right. No, 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 I don't think so. No. It was, hey, he's living this life. Once again, if we're taking, I'll never forget in seminary, you know, you don't know if
I'm
you
afraid to
remember
hear what
Dr.
you have to
Solon,
say. I
huh?
remember Dr. Solon.
He's like the language of the language of faith equals the language of myth. So we talking about Adam and Eve, like y'all believe in that story happened, but
Um,
he messed up
Dr. Young, are
so many
you really trying to do
classmates.
this right now on the podcast?
I
Are
am
you? This
doing
is
this
where
right
you're
now on the
going?
podcast. I am. Because when somebody asks me about it, I'll be like, "You believe that really happened?" Now,
It's an actual story, Emmett.
right,
It
right,
happened.
yeah, it's a story. It happened. Yeah. So now, so what I'm saying is, do I believe? Do I
The
believe?
saints are not going
Even
to be
if I
happy
don't
with
believe
this.
that there wasn't Adam and Eve, and I'm not saying I don't. But even if I did, right,
What are you saying, Reverend?
I'm still looking at the story as a story, as a
Yeah,
as
as a
um
symbol,
as a
as a
symbol,
message.
right?
Yes.
As a message. And even in that message, there is, okay, here's Adam. And once again, come full circle. This is what we teach our kids, early on. There's an Adam, there's an Eve, there's marriage early on. So boom. And really, if we teaching that, then
Mhm.
then we ought to be able to be like, it ain't perfect because they were not perfect. They messed up. But here's
Right.
Adam, and God has given him this purpose and all that. He's given him a job, but guess what? There's nobody to help him out in that. So there's so see now, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this with you today. I'm about to go really like theological. I'm not doing this with you today. I'm not doing it. But I am
Y'all
saying,
hear how he's making it seem like I have somehow lured him into this great
you
theological debate?
you have,
That seems
because you have.
unreasonable, doesn't it?
I'm not doing
Me?
this with you today. I'm not. I'm
I'm
just
just
not doing
sitting
this.
here in my luxurious hotel room. I don't know what you're
See,
talking about.
there you go. You snob. My luxurious hotel room. Yeah. Well, you're in your mother-in-law's basement.
In your milieu.
In my milieu.
Oh my God. This
So
podcast is
I'm gonna
really
I'm gonna go
hot
ahead
mess.
and just tamp this down and be
Mm.
like, you know what? I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. I have nothing else to
I
say.
was waiting to hear what you had to say. You had a
I
great
mean,
theological exploration that
I
you were
was
giving.
only thinking of because we when we ask the questions, right? We sometimes we can go down the rabbit hole, but if God placed him there, God is one that placed him there and had all these animals around him, and there's nobody else. God knew that he didn't have a suitable helpmeet. God knew that. It wasn't like something that was like an epiphany, certainly to God.
Mm.
God was the one who put it like that. So, so questions can be asked. Did Adam ever say, hey, look, I know you created that over there, but I can't do nothing with that. I can't do nothing with that. I can't do nothing with that. But the way it's presented is, hey, God sees there's no suitable help me for him. God knows that. He knew that. He makes this. So he does, if you follow the story, he makes, Eve out of Adam to be that partner, supposed to be right now, however your whatever your milieu, whatever you think, whatever your bent is, if it's a truly biblical worldview or if it's a westernized biblical worldview.
Say white.
um I'm going to say an evangelical code word.
White evangelical.
However you look at it, right, you can take it as she's supposed to be submissive or
Mhm.
she's supposed to be a partner. All right, that's right. And sometimes that's culture. Sometimes we interpret it through the lens of culture. Other times, once again, it's just it's very local. Where are you going? Who are you listening to? All that kind of thing. So, however you take that, the point still made that you make is that here we have this story that is one of the first stories we get in this revered book that we have, this holy Bible.
Mhm.
And yet there are flaws. There are flaws. And if we can't talk about those,
Yes.
if we can't talk about those to get at some point of betterment, then what are we doing as church, right? What are we
Mhm.
doing? What? Why? Because that's what we're supposed to be. That's what we're supposed to do. Uh, I can, you know me, I can't, my brain, I'm done. I can't do it. I can't do it. Fanmatterspod@gmail.com. YouTube channel, Fan Matters Pod. I can't do this anymore. I just can't. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe, like the video. And when you comment, let Jess know how much of a snob she is because she's doing this to myself.
Can
All
I just
those who are Team
enjoy
Milb,
being taken
if
care
you're
of?
Team Milb, stand up. Team
I'm
Milb,
team
stand up.
milieu.
Stand up, Team Milb. All right. We don't want Team Jet Set. All right. Nah, bump that. Team Milb in the house. Okay. Yes. Because
Family, thank you for dealing with our foolishness. We don't know why, but we're glad you're here.
I'm glad you're here. We are. And I think we're determining also to be a podcast where you don't have to listen to us for like an hour. There's no need for that, right?
Agree. Because you're not going to get our back. What a mess.
I try to listen to podcasts and I'm out after like 30 minutes. And we've already been going like over 30 minutes.
We're at 40. So it's fine.
It's all
If you
good.
don't get to the end, that's okay too. It's fine.
It's all good. We don't know what we're going to be talking about the next time we're on, but don't forget to check for us. Facebook, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podvine, Buzzsprout, YouTube. Hit us up, please. fammatterspod@gmail.com. You definitely see our ads at us, wherever we are. Holla at us, please. We love to get comments, feedback, even show topics, stuff like that. And we're just trying to do this, for real, for real. Having a good time doing it. But you never know when somebody's listening or what somebody's going through. And it is our hope that that you've enjoyed what we've given to you today. Just being us, because this is us.
This is us.
It's us.
A little bit more.
I've
Maybe
dropped
a little bit
verbs.
more put together.
I've dropped verbs lately. I'm just like, marriage hard. This us. Give that.
Uh,
Me that. I'm sorry. Me that.
God bless everybody.
I'm out. All right, y'all.
Bye,
Thank you,
y'all.
fan faithful. We love y'all. Till the next time. This is Emin and Jess with Fan Matter saying peace.
Bye.